Hi everybody, here we are for chapter 22, and unfortunately it is another rainy day, and I didn't get outside the one chance that it was kind of sunny to read, and so I am cozy inside to read chapter 22. Poppy makes up her mind, and it's kind of a long chapter, so I'm going to read a part of it and then stop, and then I will record the rest right away and get them both shared, so it's a great chapter. Though Poppy waited at the tree, Aerith did not return. Knowing how unpredictable her friend was, she kept asking herself how long she should wait. After all, she had been with the mice longer than she'd planned. That certainly would have irritated the old porcupine. She began to think he'd done what he'd threatened to do all along, trundled back to Dimwood Forest. Yet Poppy was quite aware her friend might be doing no more than taking a nap in a nearby log. Normally, Poppy would not have minded waiting, but she kept worrying that if she were going to save Rye, she had to act swiftly. Having nothing better to do, she searched about the base of the cottonwood tree for some of Aerith's quills to take back to the nest. When she failed to find any, she became fretful. The thought of sneaking into the beaver's lodge without the protection of quills was something she did not relish. Having no quills set off a nervous train of doubts in Poppy's mind. Would she be able to get into the lodge again? Was Rye's cage breakable? What if she or he got hurt? Would they be able to use the vine to get out of the lodge? And what if freeing Rye did bring greater harm to the rest of his family? Maybe Valerian and Clover were right. Maybe it all was too dangerous. The more Poppy thought, the more doubts she had about her plan. Suddenly, Poppy felt an intense desire to race back to Dimwood Forest and hide, where she would be safe and secure in the world she knew and loved best. It was bittersweet to recall that when she had begun this trip, she had been looking forward to a time of calm. Perhaps Aerith was right. Perhaps it was better to be alone. And yet she had fallen in love with Rye. Moreover, she had promised to help him. How could she abandon him? She could not, no more than she could abandon her feelings. Too agitated to wait any longer for Aerith, Poppy hurried down the hill and crept back into the nest. It was very crowded. Some 50 and more mice were there, most of whom she'd not seen before. She got hold of Thistle. "What's happening?" Poppy asked. "It's the rest of our family," Thistle explained. "Valerian asked them to come hear about your plan." "And are they for it or against it?" Poppy asked. "They can't make up their minds," Thistle confided. "Poppy, I think we should do it, as long as we have quills to defend ourselves." "Thistle," Poppy confided, "I couldn't get the quills." Thistle blanched. "You couldn't?" "My friend the porcupine has disappeared." "Does that mean we can't rescue Rye?" Thistle asked with dismay. Poppy, feeling she had failed the young mouse, hardly knew what to say. "I'm not sure," she replied. Valerian approached. "Poppy, I sent word to the rest of the family about what you want to do," he informed her. "It's so important, I felt everyone should be involved in the decision." "Attention, please," cried Valerian. The mice hushed. "For those who don't know her yet," Valerian said by way of introduction, "this is Poppy. She comes to us from East. She was a special friend of Ragweed's. That makes her a good friend of ours." To this there were murmurs of assent. "You've heard what's happened to Rye and what choice we've been given," Valerian continued. "Move off somewhere and hopefully have Rye freed, or try to save Rye on our own and take our chances with the beavers. To be honest with you, your mother and I think it'd be best to move on." And here is a picture. Poppy here wants to rescue Rye. "Since this concerns the whole family, we thought it'd be wise for you to hear from her yourselves. We thought it'd be wise for you to hear her for yourselves. Once again, Poppy found herself facing a world of grave golden faces. Momentarily, she thought of sharing her anxieties, but feared that if the mice knew how nervous she was, they would never give her help. Instead, she simply explained her plan for freeing Rye. "Did you get those quills?" someone asked when she was done. "I'm afraid not." A nervous twitter passed over the family. "I do need some volunteers," Poppy said, almost timidly. Curly Dock shyly lifted a paw. I'll go," he offered. "Me too," Thistle joined in. "What about the rest of you?" Poppy asked. "Can I have your approval?" Valerian cleared his throat. "Poppy, if you don't mind waiting outside, I think it would be easier for us to make up our minds." It was a discouraged Poppy who left the nest. Once above ground, she gazed down at the pond and the lodge where she knew Rye was being kept. Think of it, she told herself, as just another kind of dance. Thistle and Curly Dock emerged from the nest. Poppy looked at them expectantly. Thistle said, "They think you're making a mistake, but they won't keep you from trying. They're going to move, so we're on our own." Poppy considered her young friends. "Please," she said to them, "you're very brave to volunteer, but it will be hard, maybe impossible. I won't think less of you if you change your minds." "No way," Thistle said with a stubbornness that made Poppy recall ragweed. "We're going with you." Curly Dock nodded in agreement. "All right then," Poppy said briskly as she tried to stir up her own energy. "The first thing we need to do is get a long piece of vine. Any idea where we can get one?" The young mice exchanged looks. "Maybe up in the berry thicket," Curly Dock suggested. With Curly Dock leading the way, the three mice scampered up the hill. A short run brought them up and over the ridge. On the far side, they went down into a sunny hollow. Before them lay an overgrown thicket of berry bushes and flowering honeysuckle vines. The air was filled with sweetness. "We should be able to get a honeysuckle vine there," Thistle said. "They're long and tough." The three mice were soon deep within the thicket. Cool and moist, it was perfumed by the almost overpowering, sticky sweet scent of berries. "How about this vine?" Curly Dock asked. He was yanking on a green strand that twisted high over their heads and out of sight. "It really needs to be long and strong," Poppy urged. "It has to get us into the lodge and out." "This one looks okay," Thistle called from another spot. She was joined by the others. "Haul it in," Poppy said. While the other two worked to untangle the vine, she chewed through its roots. Then they began to pull. "It's stuck," Thistle announced. "Must be tied to something," Curly Dock agreed. No matter how the three pulled, the vine would not come. "Well, we can follow it along," Poppy suggested. Curly Dock was up front. Thistle was in the middle. Poppy came behind. As they followed the vine, they became increasingly spread out, losing sight of one another. Suddenly, from deep within the thicket, there was a frantic call from Curly Dock. "Help!" he cried. "Hurry, fast!" Poppy and Thistle dropped the vine and charged forward. Curly Dock was crouched down in terror. And I'm going to stop there, and then I'll record the rest. See you soon.